The ancient cathedral falls silent as I walk down the aisle in my mud-stained healer's dress, completely out of place among silk and jewels. Every head turns. Shock ripples through the crowd of the most powerful alphas in the realm. I have absolutely no business being here. At the altar stands Alpha King Alexander in his battle-worn armor, golden eyes burning into mine. His bride, the breathtaking Lady Seraphina in her crystal-adorned gown, looks like she wants my throat ripped out. My heart hammers so violently I'm certain the entire cathedral can hear it. I know this is madness. I know I'm about to destroy everything. But I saw the poisoned wine prepared for the mating toast. I heard Seraphina's whispered promise to her beta lover that Alexander would be dead before moonrise. Something primal inside me snapped. I reach the Alpha King and pull his face down to mine. Our lips crash together, desperate, reckless, forbidden. The world explodes. Power surges through me like lightning. Then Alexander's massive hand grips my waist and he kisses me back. Possessive, claiming, devastating. When we break apart, his eyes have shifted to pure wolf gold. He growls one word that changes everything. Mate. I never thought delivering wolfsbane and silvervine to the palace healers would change my life forever. But looking back now, I realize fate doesn't ask permission before it rewrites your entire existence. Elowen, my mentor, had been coughing for 3 days straight. Her face was pale as parchment when she pressed the worn leather satchel into my trembling hands. The palace expects this delivery before the royal wedding, she'd rasped. You'll have to go in my place, Olive. I'd wanted to refuse. The palace wasn't a place for someone like me, an orphaned Omega from the lower villages who spent her days grinding herbs and mixing salves. But Elowen's fever was rising, and the coin from this contract would keep us fed through winter. So, 3 days before the wedding that would unite the Shadowmoon Kingdom with the powerful Bloodrose Pack, I found myself walking through gates I'd only ever seen from a distance. The palace loomed above me like a mountain of white stone and silver spires, so grand it made my chest ache. Wolves in formal livery lined the entrance. Servants rushed past carrying bolts of silk and arrangements of moonflowers. Everything gleamed with a wealth I couldn't even comprehend. I clutched my satchel tighter and tried to remember the directions the gate guard had given me. Left at the main hall, down 2 corridors, 3rd door past the courtyard. Simple enough. Except nothing about this place was simple. The marble corridors all looked identical, branching off in directions that made no sense. Crystal chandeliers hung overhead, catching the afternoon light and throwing rainbow patterns across floors so polished I could see my reflection. A girl in a plain brown dress that had been mended too many times, blonde braid coming loose, eyes too wide with nervousness. I was hopelessly lost within minutes. When I turned down what I thought was the correct hallway, the atmosphere changed. The air felt heavier here, charged with an authority that made my skin prickle. Fewer servants. More guards. I realized my mistake the moment I saw the ornate double doors at the corridor's end, flanked by 2 massive wolves in ceremonial armor. Before I could backtrack, hands grabbed me from behind. I gasped as I was slammed against the cold stone wall, my satchel falling to the floor with a clatter of glass vials. A guard's forearm pressed across my collarbone, not quite choking but close enough to send panic shooting through my veins. "The king's private wing is forbidden," he growled, his breath hot against my face. "How did you get past?" "Release her." The voice cut through the hallway like a blade, deep, commanding, but with something underneath that I couldn't quite name. Something hollow. The guard released me instantly, stepping back so fast he nearly stumbled. I sagged against the wall, one hand flying to my throat as I tried to catch my breath. That's when I saw him. Alpha King Alexander emerged from the ornate chambers like a storm given human form. He was tall, powerfully built, with dark hair that fell in a warrior's braids past his shoulders. He wore a simple black tunic despite his rank, and I could see the edges of scars on his forearms, marks of battles I couldn't imagine. But it was his eyes that stole the breath I'd just recovered. Golden, intense, ancient, and utterly, devastatingly sad. Our gazes locked, and something happened that I didn't understand. A pull, deep in my chest, like a golden thread, had suddenly tied itself around my ribs and pulled tight. My wolf, the one I'd never felt before, the one I'd assumed was too weak to ever surface in an Omega like me, suddenly stirred. A flutter beneath my skin, curious and yearning. The Alpha King's eyes widened almost imperceptibly, as if he felt it too. The moment stretched between us, heavy with something I had no name for. I'm so sorry, Your Majesty, I stammered, dropping into a clumsy curtsy and grabbing my fallen satchel. Glass clinked inside, and I prayed nothing had broken. I was trying to find the healer's quarters, to deliver supplies. I didn't mean to. You're Elowen's apprentice. It wasn't a question. His voice was different now, quieter but no less commanding. He took a step closer, and I caught his scent pine and winter frost and something wild that made my pulse race. Yes, Your Majesty. She's ill, so I came in her place. I kept my eyes downcast, though everything in me wanted to look up at him again. I'll leave immediately. I apologize for the intrusion. The healer's wing is 2 floors down, eastern corridor. He paused, and I felt rather than saw his gaze move over me. You're far from home. I risked a glance up. He was watching me with an expression I couldn't read, but there was something in those golden eyes that made my heart clench. Behind him, through the open doorway to his chambers, I could see a massive desk covered in documents, and there, prominently displayed, was an ornate wedding invitation bordered in silver and crimson. The royal wedding. In 3 days, this devastating, lonely-looking alpha would bind himself to Lady Seraphina of the Bloodrose Pack. I'd heard the servants in the village talking about it, how beautiful she was, how powerful the alliance would be, how lucky the kingdom was to have such a union. Congratulations on your upcoming wedding, Your Majesty, I said softly, trying to break the strange tension that seemed to thicken the air between us. The whole kingdom celebrates with you. Something flickered across his face. Pain, maybe, or resignation. When he spoke, his words sent ice down my spine. Don't congratulate me yet, little Omega. His voice was barely above a whisper, and his eyes held mine with an intensity that made me forget to breathe. This wedding may be my funeral. Before I could respond, before I could even process what he'd said, he turned away. Escort her to the healer's wing, he commanded the guards. Ensure she reaches her destination safely. Then he disappeared back into his chambers, and the ornate doors closed with a finality that somehow felt like goodbye. The guards led me away in silence, but I couldn't shake the image of those sad golden eyes. I couldn't forget the way my wolf had woken for the first time in my life. Couldn't stop hearing his words echoing in my mind. This wedding may be my funeral. I had no idea how right he was, or that in 3 days, I would be the one to stop it. The day before the wedding, everything went horribly wrong. I arrived at the palace just after dawn, my satchel packed with the carefully prepared wolfsbane tinctures and silvervine salves Elowen had spent weeks perfecting. The city was already alive with celebration banners in crimson and silver hung from every building, and the scent of roasting meat and honeyed wine filled the air. Tomorrow, the Alpha King would take his bride, and the kingdom would have a new queen. I should have felt the same joy radiating from everyone around me. Instead, all I could think about were those golden eyes and that devastating warning. This wedding may be my funeral. The head healer, a stern wolf named Marta with gray streaking her temples, met me at the servants' entrance with a scowl that made my stomach drop. Before I could even open my satchel, she waved me away dismissively. We don't need your delivery, girl. We've already received our supplies. I blinked, confused. But Elowen has a standing contract with the palace. She prepared these specifically for... Lady Seraphina's personal healers arrived from the Bloodrose territory yesterday with everything we need. Marta's tone left no room for argument. Far superior quality, I might add. You can tell your mentor the contract has been terminated. The words hit me like a slap. Terminated? That contract was half of Elowen's income. Without it, we'd barely survive the winter. But more than that, something felt deeply wrong. Elowen had served the palace for 20 years. They wouldn't just dismiss her without notice, especially not days before a royal wedding when medicinal supplies would be most needed. Please, I tried again, desperation creeping into my voice. If I could just speak to someone in charge. The matter is settled. Leave before I have the guards escort you out. I left, but I didn't go home. I couldn't. The wrongness of it all gnawed at me, mixing with the memory of Alexander's haunted expression. Something was happening here. Something that made my instincts scream danger even when I couldn't name why. I found a servant near the kitchens who was close to my size and traded 3 silver coins I couldn't afford to lose for her spare uniform. The plain gray dress and white apron would let me blend in with the dozens of servants rushing through final wedding preparations. I just needed to understand what was happening, needed to know if the Alpha King was truly in danger, or if I was losing my mind over a chance encounter with sad golden eyes. The palace was chaos. Servants carried armfuls of white roses and moonflowers. Musicians practiced in the grand hall. I kept my head down and followed the flow of activity, pretending I belonged, until I found myself in the private wing reserved for the bridal party. That's when I heard the voices. I'd been passing an ornate sitting room when I caught the sound of laughter, feminine, bright, and utterly cold. The door was slightly ajar. I should have kept walking, should have minded my own business. But something made me pause, made me press closer to the doorway and peer through the narrow gap. What I saw made my blood turn to ice. Lady Seraphina, breathtaking in a silk dressing gown, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders like a waterfall, was wrapped around a man. Not just standing close, wrapped around him, her legs locked around his waist as he pressed her against the wall. Their mouths fused together in a kiss that was anything but innocent. The man wasn't Alpha King Alexander. I recognized him from the formal portraits I'd seen in the corridors. Beta Marcus of the Bloodrose Pack, Seraphina's supposed cousin. The way they were devouring each other was definitely not familial. I should have fled right then. But I was frozen, hidden in the shadows behind a heavy tapestry near the doorway, my heart hammering so loud I was certain they'd hear it. Marcus finally broke the kiss, breathing hard. "Tomorrow," he murmured against Seraphina's throat. "After tomorrow, everything changes." Seraphina laughed, the sound like poisoned honey. "It'll be almost too easy. Marry the beast, gain access to his chambers, and then—" She made a casual gesture, as if discussing what to wear rather than something far darker. "The mating ceremony toast. One drink, and by moonrise, the throne will be ours." My chest constricted. No, she couldn't mean. What if he suspects? Marcus pulled back, concern flickering across his handsome face. "Alexander isn't stupid. If he discovers the plan—" "He won't." Seraphina's voice turned venomous, dripping with contempt. "Alexander is too honorable, too bound by duty to suspect his chosen bride. The council arranged this marriage for the good of the kingdom. He'll drink the toast like the obedient king he is, grateful to finally fulfill his responsibility. The man has spent his entire life sacrificing for duty. He won't break tradition now." She ran her fingers through Marcus's hair, her smile cruel and beautiful. "Besides, he doesn't love me. This is just politics to him. He'll never see it coming." Horror crashed through me in waves. They were going to kill him, poison him, at his own wedding, in front of the entire kingdom, during the sacred mating ceremony. And everyone would think it was an attack from outside enemies, never suspecting the bride herself. I must have made a sound, a gasp, a whimper, something, because Seraphina's head snapped toward the doorway, her eyes, cold and calculating, locked directly on the tapestry where I hid. "Someone's listening," she hissed. I didn't wait to hear more. I ran. My feet pounded against marble floors as I fled down corridors, not caring about stealth anymore, just desperate to get away. Behind me, I heard Marcus shouting for guards. My lungs burned. The servant's uniform tangled around my legs. I crashed through a side door and into a garden, then another corridor, until I finally burst out a servant's exit and into the city streets beyond. I didn't stop running until I reached the lower district, collapsing against a wall in a narrow alley, gasping for breath. My whole body shook. They'd seen me. Not my face, maybe, but they knew someone had heard. I'd made myself a target. The smart thing would be to run. To leave the city, return to my village, pretend I'd never heard anything. Let the Alpha King drink his poisoned toast, let him die. It wasn't my business. I was nobody, just a healer's apprentice who'd stumbled into something far beyond her understanding. But I couldn't shake the memory of those golden eyes, that hollow sadness, the way he'd called me Little Omega, with something almost gentle in his voice. This wedding may be my funeral. He'd known something was wrong. Maybe not the specifics, but he'd felt the trap closing around him. And tomorrow, it would kill him. I pressed my hands against my face, trying to think through my panic. What could I do? Who would believe me? I had no proof, no standing, no power. If I went to the guards and accused the bride of treason, they'd either laugh at me or throw me in the dungeons for spreading lies about Lady Seraphina. But I couldn't let him die. I wouldn't. The wedding was tomorrow at midday. I had less than a day to figure out how to save a king who didn't even know my name. The ancient cathedral is breathtaking and terrible all at once. Sunlight streams through stained glass windows, painting the assembled nobility in colors of crimson and gold. Hundreds of candles flicker from iron chandeliers, their light catching on polished armor and jeweled gowns. The air is thick with the scent of moonflowers and incense, and every powerful alpha family in the realm has gathered to witness this union. I'm pressed against the back wall among the servants, my borrowed uniform helping me blend into the shadows. My heart hasn't stopped racing since I slipped inside an hour ago. I've told myself a dozen times that I'll find a way to warn him after the ceremony, that I'll pull a guard aside, insist they check the mating chalice, make them listen somehow. But even as I think it, I know it's a lie. No one will believe a nameless Omega over the word of Lady Seraphina and the entire Blood Rose pack. The ceremonial music begins, and my breath catches despite everything. Alpha King Alexander stands at the altar like a king, carved from stone and starlight. He wears traditional ceremonial armor, black leather and silver metal that catches the candlelight with every breath. His dark hair is pulled back in intricate braids woven with silver thread, and even from this distance, I can see the rigid set of his shoulders. He looks every inch the powerful ruler he is. He also looks completely and utterly trapped. Then Seraphina begins her processional, and the entire cathedral seems to hold its breath. She's devastating. There's no other word for it. Her gown is a masterpiece of crystal beading and white silk that flows behind her like water. Her dark hair is crowned with diamonds that catch the light like stars. She moves down the aisle with the grace of someone who knows exactly how beautiful she is, her smile radiant and perfect. An angel of death in a wedding gown. I watch Alexander's face as she approaches. There's no joy there. No love. Just grim resignation. Like a man walking to his own execution. Because that's exactly what this is. The priest begins the ceremony, his voice echoing off the ancient stones. I try to focus, try to figure out when they'll attempt the poisoning. The mating chalice won't be presented until near the end, during the sacred toast that binds their wolves together. I have time. I can still. Then I see it. A servant in blood rose colors approaches the altar carrying an ornate silver chalice. Too early. They're bringing it now, during the vows. Not waiting for the traditional moment. My eyes snap to Beta Marcus in the third row, and I catch the subtle nod he gives the servant, the slight curl of his lips. They're going to poison Alexander now. Today. Right now. The priest's voice fills the cathedral. If any person here knows of any lawful impediment to this marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace. My feet move before my mind catches up. I push away from the wall and step into the center aisle. The whispers start immediately, a ripple of shock spreading through the assembled nobles. Heads turn. Eyes widen. A commoner in a servant's dress, walking down the aisle during a royal wedding. It's madness. Every step feels like walking through deep water. I'm aware of every gaze on me, every scandalized gasp. But I keep my eyes locked on Alexander. On those golden eyes that are now wide with recognition. The Omega from the hallway. I can almost hear him thinking it. When I reach the altar, the silence is deafening. Seraphina's perfect smile has frozen into something sharp and dangerous. The priest looks utterly bewildered. Alexander just stares at me like I'm a ghost. I force the words past my lips. I object. The cathedral explodes with noise, gasps, shouts. Seraphina's voice cuts through it all, shrill with fury. How dare you! Guards, remove this nobody from my wedding! 2 guards in ceremonial armor start toward me. I have seconds, maybe less. My eyes find the chalice in the servant's hands, then snap to Alexander. I try to tell him with my gaze what I can't say with words. Danger, poison, please understand. But there's no time for understanding. So I do the only thing I can think of, the only thing that might save him. I grab Alexander's face and pull him down to me. Our lips crash together, and the entire world explodes. Power surges through me like lightning, striking directly into my chest. Ancient, primal, undeniable. It's not just a kiss, it's a ignition, a claiming, a fundamental rewriting of everything I thought I knew about myself. My wolf, dormant my entire life, suddenly roars to life with a force that steals my breath. Alexander goes completely rigid against me. For a heartbeat, I think he'll push me away, throw me to the guards, call me insane. Then his massive hand wraps around my waist, and he kisses me back. It's not gentle, not soft. It's possessive and fierce and desperate, like he's been drowning and I'm his first breath of air. His other hand tangles in my hair, tilting my head to deepen the kiss, and I feel the rumble of his wolf in his chest. The power between us intensifies until I'm certain everyone in the cathedral can feel it, this golden thread binding us together, pulling tighter with every second our lips touch. When we finally break apart, both gasping, his eyes have shifted to pure wolf gold, glowing, feral, beautiful. He says one word, and it changes absolutely everything. Mate. The cathedral erupts into chaos, but Alexander's voice cuts through it like a blade. Seize that chalice. Now. His beta guards move instantly, grabbing the ceremonial cup from the shocked servant's hands. Alexander's gaze never leaves mine as he continues in that same commanding tone. Test it for poison. Immediately. I hear Seraphina's sharp intake of breath. See Beta Marcus bolt for the side exit. Stop him! Alexander roars, and guards swarm Marcus before he makes it 3 steps. He goes down hard, shouting protests that no one believes. The head guard approaches with the chalice, his face grim. Your Majesty, there's wolfsbane in the wine, enough to kill an alpha within minutes. The gasps that ripple through the crowd are different now, not scandalized, horrified. Alexander's arm is still around my waist, solid and grounding, as he addresses the cathedral with a voice that promises violence. The wedding is cancelled, everyone out. Now. Nobody argues with an alpha king in full wolf mode, golden eyes blazing and power radiating from him in waves that make the candle flames flicker. The nobility flees in a rush of silk and panic. Guards drag a screaming Seraphina toward the dungeons. Marcus fights uselessly against his captors. Within minutes, the ancient cathedral is empty, except for a few trusted guards positioned at the doors. And me. Alexander's hand is still on my waist. His eyes, still more wolf than man, search my face like I'm a miracle and a mystery all at once. Like he's trying to understand how his entire life just shattered and reformed in the space of a single kiss. Who are you? He whispers, and there's wonder in his voice beneath the shock. I'm shaking so hard I can barely stand. The power that surged through me is fading, leaving me weak and overwhelmed. I'm nobody. I manage. Just Olive. The healer's apprentice. I overheard them plotting. I couldn't let you die. His thumb traces my cheekbone with devastating gentleness. You're not nobody, Olive. His voice drops to something raw and reverent. You're my mate. My wolf recognized you the moment you touched me. Tears I didn't know I was holding spill down my cheeks. I don't understand. I'm just an omega. I can't be. You are. He says it with absolute certainty. Like it's the only truth that matters in a world that just turned upside down. And you just saved my life. Then he pulls me against his chest, and I collapse into him, finally letting myself break. I saved him. Somehow, impossibly, I saved him, and awakened something between us that feels like destiny itself. The private chamber Alexander leads me to is smaller than I expected for a king more personal than palatial. Dark wood furniture. Maps spread across a heavy desk. Weapons mounted on the walls between shelves of leather-bound books. It feels lived in, real, and somehow that makes everything more terrifying. He closes the door behind us, and suddenly the space feels impossibly small. Alexander begins to pace, and I'm reminded of a caged wolf all contained power and restless energy. He's removed the ceremonial armor, leaving him in a simple black tunic that somehow makes him look even more dangerous, more real. His golden eyes track over me again and again, like he's trying to solve an impossible puzzle. Tell me everything, he finally says, his voice controlled but edged with something sharp. Who you are, why you kissed me, how you knew about the poison. The words tumble out of me in a rush, tripping over each other. My name is Olive. I'm a healer's apprentice from the lower villages. My mentor, Elowen, she was supposed to deliver supplies to the palace, but she got sick, so I came instead. I got lost and ended up in your wing, that's how we met before. Then yesterday, I tried to make the delivery again, but they'd already received supplies from Lady Seraphina's people. which didn't make sense because Elowin had a contract. So I snuck in wearing a servant's uniform to figure out what was happening. I'm babbling, I know, but I can't seem to stop. I overheard them, Serafina and Beta Marcus. They were together, and they were planning to poison you during the mating ceremony. I tried to think of a way to warn you, but who would believe me? I'm nobody. So when I saw them bringing the chalice early, and I knew you were about to drink, I couldn't let you die. Alexander stops pacing. The silence stretches between us, heavy and charged. Do you feel it? His voice is quieter now, but the question lands like a physical touch. I want to lie, want to pretend I don't know what he means, but my whole body is still humming with the aftershocks of that kiss, and I can feel it, this pull between us, like a golden thread wrapped around my ribs, drawing tighter every second I'm near him. I don't know what I feel, I whisper, which is both truth and lie tangled together. Alexander crosses to me in 2 strides, and suddenly he's close enough that I can feel his heat, smell that scent of pine and winter frost that makes my wolf stir with longing. You awakened something when you kissed me, a mating bond. Do you know what that is? I shake my head mutely. It's rare, sacred. It only forms between true mates, wolves who are destined for each other. His eyes search mine with an intensity that makes my breath catch. My wolf recognized you the instant our lips touched. He's been clawing at me ever since, demanding I claim you, protect you, keep you. The words should sound possessive, frightening even. Instead, they send warmth flooding through my chest. But I'm nobody, I hear myself say, an orphaned omega from the villages. I can't possibly be the mate of an alpha king. Something flickers in his expression, pain maybe, or recognition. That's not how mating bonds work, Olive. They don't care about status or bloodlines, only about souls that fit together. He starts pacing again, but differently now, like he's trying to think through a problem with too many variables. You're in danger. The Bloodrose pack won't let this humiliation stand. Serafina and Marcus will have allies, family members who'll want revenge. They'll come for you. Cold fear trickles down my spine. I hadn't thought that far ahead, hadn't considered the consequences beyond saving his life. I'll assign you protection, Alexander continues, his tone shifting into something more commanding. More kingly. You'll stay in the palace where my guards can... No, the word escapes before I can stop it. I have a life, a mentor who needs me. I can't just abandon everything because of one kiss. Alexander's eyes flash gold. That kiss changed everything. Whether you want to accept it or not. I didn't ask for this. My voice rises with panic and frustration. I just wanted to save your life, not upend my entire existence. And I didn't ask for a mate to crash my wedding and shatter every plan I'd made. He's closer now, his voice dropping to something raw. But here we are, Olive, bound by something neither of us chose and can't undo. We stare at each other, both breathing hard, the air between us crackling with tension and something else. Something that feels like fate pulling tighter. Alexander exhales slowly, and when he speaks again, his voice is gentler, almost tender. I'm assigning you protection. Myself. That's ridiculous. You're the Alpha King. You can't. Not anymore, Olive. He steps closer, and I feel that pull intensify, until it's almost painful. You awakened a bond that can't be broken. You're mine to protect now, whether you accept it or not. The possessiveness in those words should anger me. Instead, it makes something in my chest flutter with dangerous warmth. The kiss, Alexander says quietly, his eyes locked on mine. Was it only to save my life? Or did you feel something else? I lie because the truth terrifies me. It was purely tactical, a distraction to stop the ceremony. His lips curve into the smallest smile, and it transforms his entire face. Is that so? Yes. Then why did you kiss me so? Thoroughly. Heat floods my cheeks. I had to make it convincing. Convincing. He takes another step closer, and now we're inches apart. And what about when you kissed me back after I'd already stopped you? When you melted against me like you couldn't help yourself? I did not. But my protest dies because we both know it's a lie. You did, he murmurs. Just like I kissed you back because my wolf gave me no choice. You called to him, Olive. You called to me. We're standing so close now that I have to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. I can feel his breath ghosting across my lips. I can see the gold bleeding into his irises as his wolf surfaces. "I'm sorry," I finally whisper, my voice breaking. "I didn't mean to complicate your life. I couldn't watch you die." Something in Alexander's expression softens completely. His hand comes up slowly, giving me time to pull away, before his palm cups my cheek with devastating gentleness. "Don't apologize for saving my life, little Omega." His thumb traces my cheekbone, and the touch sends shivers racing down my spine. "Thank you, for being brave enough to do what no one else would." Tears prick my eyes. "You're welcome. And now," he says, his voice dropping to something that sounds like a vow, "I'll spend every day proving I'm worthy of the gift you've given me." Before I can respond, before I can tell him he doesn't need to prove anything, he closes the distance and kisses me again. This kiss is different from the desperate collision in the cathedral. This one is slow, deliberate, questioning. His lips move against mine with a tenderness that makes my heart ache, and when I open for him with a soft gasp, he deepens the kiss until I'm drowning in the taste of him. When we finally break apart, we're both trembling. "Stay," Alexander whispers against my forehead. "Please, let me protect you." And looking into those golden eyes, feeling the mate bond pulling us together like gravity itself, I realize I don't have the strength to say no. Not to him. Not to this. "Okay," I breathe. "I'll stay." His smile is like sunrise breaking over mountains, beautiful and full of impossible hope. 3 weeks in the palace, and I'm drowning in a world I was never meant to inhabit. The chambers Alexander assigned me are larger than the entire cottage I shared with Elowen. Silk gowns in jewel tones hang in the wardrobe, emerald and sapphire and deep wine red, each one worth more than my village sees in a year. A lady's maid named Kara tends to me with a patience I don't deserve, trying to teach me things that should be second nature to someone in my position but feel impossibly foreign. How to hold a wine glass by the stem, not the bowl. How to curtsy to duchy wolves versus visiting alphas. Which of the 7 forks to use for which course at formal dinners. The proper way to address a council member versus a beta versus nobility from allied packs. It's suffocating. Every morning, I wake up in that too large bed and forget where I am for a blissful moment. Then reality crashes back. I'm living in the palace as the Alpha King's recognized mate. The Omega who crashed a royal wedding and exposed a conspiracy. The commoner who doesn't belong but can't leave because of a bond I barely understand. The court makes sure I never forget it. Lady Helena, a duchess from the Northern Territories, looks at me like I'm something she scraped off her shoe. Lord Benton openly questions whether I'm truly Alexander's mate, or just a clever opportunist who saw her chance. Even some of the servants whisper when they think I can't hear, wondering how long it'll be before the Alpha King realizes his mistake. But Alexander is there for all of it. Patient, protective, and increasingly, devastatingly harder to resist. He takes over my etiquette lessons personally after I break down crying during a particularly brutal session about proper titles. "These people have spent their whole lives learning this," I'd sobbed. "I'll never be good enough." Alexander had dismissed the tutor and taken my hands in his. "Then I'll teach you myself. And I have all the time in the world." True to his word, he's there every afternoon, teaching me to navigate conversations with visiting dignitaries, explaining pack politics in ways that actually make sense, helping me memorize the names and faces of nobility who look at me with varying degrees of disdain. But it's the dancing lesson that nearly undoes me. The autumn ball is approaching, my first official public appearance since the wedding disaster, and I need to know the traditional pack waltz. Alexander insists on teaching me himself in one of the palace's smaller ballrooms, claiming his beta has 2 left feet and no rhythm. The room is empty except for us and a musician Alexander pays handsomely to keep whatever he sees to himself. "The male leads," Alexander explains, stepping close enough that I have to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. The female follows. It's about trust and connection. He takes my right hand in his left, his other hand settling on my waist with a touch that seems to burn through the fabric of my gown. I rest my free hand on his shoulder, hyper-aware of the solid muscle beneath my palm. "Just follow my lead," he murmurs, and then we're moving. At first, I'm too focused on my feet to think about anything else. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, trying desperately not to step on his boots. But Alexander is patient, guiding me through the steps with gentle pressure at my waist, adjusting our rhythm when I stumble. Gradually, I stop counting, stop thinking, start feeling the music instead, letting my body follow his lead naturally. Better, Alexander says, his voice low and warm. Much better. We're closer now than when we started. Close enough that I can feel his heat, smell that pine and frost scent that makes my wolf purr with contentment. Our bodies move together in perfect synchronization, and suddenly this isn't just dancing, it's something else entirely. I stumble on a turn, and Alexander catches me instantly, one arm wrapping fully around my waist to steady me. We freeze like that, his mouth inches from mine, my hands clutching his shoulders, both our hearts hammering so loud I can hear them. "You're a quick learner," he murmurs, his breath ghosting across my lips. I manage to force words past the tightness in my throat. "I have good motivation not to embarrass you." His eyes darken to molten gold. "You could never embarrass me, Olive." His hand comes up to cup my face with that devastating gentleness he always shows me. "You humble me." The air between us crackles with tension so thick it's hard to breathe. I can see the exact moment he considers kissing me, the way his gaze drops to my mouth and his pupils dilate. But then he steps back, releasing me, and the loss of his warmth feels like physical pain. "Again," he says, his voice rougher than before. "From the beginning." We dance until sunset, and every touch feels like a promise neither of us is ready to make. The full moon arrives 3 days later, and Alexander becomes different. I notice it at breakfast, the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes flash gold when he looks at me, the white-knuckled grip on his silverware. By midday, he's canceled all his meetings and disappeared to his private chambers. His beta, a gruff wolf named Garrett, finds me in the library. "You should know," he says without preamble. "The full moon affects unmated wolves who found their true mates differently than others. The bond demands completion. Resisting it is painful." Ice slides down my spine. "How painful?" "Agonizing." Garrett's expression is sympathetic, but Alexander would rather suffer than pressure you before you're ready. I find him on the balcony attached to his chambers just after moonrise. He's gripping the stone railing so hard I can see the tendons standing out in his forearms. His whole body shakes with restraint, and when he senses me approaching, he doesn't turn around. "You shouldn't be here," he says, his voice barely human, more growl than words. "Garrett told me what happens during the full moon. Then you understand why you need to leave." Each word sounds like it's being torn from him. "The moon makes me less controlled. My wolf wants to claim you, mark you, complete the bond. If you stay, I don't know if I can. Why don't you complete it with someone else?" The question escapes before I can stop it, and I hate how small my voice sounds. "Just to ease the pain." I'd understand." Alexander laughs, but it's a broken sound. "There is no one else, Olive." He finally turns to face me, and his eyes are pure wolf, glowing gold and feral and full of longing that steals my breath. "Not anymore. My wolf has chosen. It's you, or a lifetime of this." The raw honesty in his words breaks something open in my chest. Without thinking, I cross to him and take his hand. He flinches like I've burned him, every muscle going rigid. For a heartbeat, I think he'll pull away. Then his fingers thread through mine with a desperation that makes my heart ache. "You shouldn't touch me," he rasps, but his grip tightens. "Not tonight." I know, but I don't let go. We stand there on that balcony as the full moon climbs higher, hands clasped, both trembling. I can feel the bond between us pulling tighter, demanding more than this simple touch. Alexander shakes with the effort of restraining his wolf, his breathing ragged and uneven. I want to tell him I feel it too, that the bond is screaming at me to close the distance, to let him claim me the way his wolf demands. But fear holds me back, fear of this world I don't understand, fear of not being enough, fear of surrendering to something so overwhelming it might consume me entirely. So instead, I just hold his hand and let him know he's not alone in this. The moon finally sets just before dawn. Alexander's grip on my hand has never loosened, and when the golden glow finally fades from his eyes, he looks utterly exhausted. "Thank you," he whispers, bringing our joined hands to his lips and pressing a kiss to my knuckles. "For staying." "Always," I hear myself say, and I mean it more than I've ever meant anything, even if I'm terrified of what that promise might cost us both. The court loves to remind me I don't belong, and after 5 weeks in the palace, their words are starting to sink beneath my skin like poison. Lady Helena corners me after a council dinner, her smile sharp as glass. Enjoying your time in the palace, dear? Such a charming passing fancy for our king. I'm sure he'll remember you fondly when this infatuation runs its course. Lord Benton is less subtle. At breakfast in the great hall, loud enough for half the room to hear, he remarks to his companion, "How long before Alexander tires of his charity case, do you think? A common Omega playing at being queen, it's almost tragically amusing. Even some of Alexander's own council members question me openly. During a formal audience where I'm expected to sit beside him, Councilman Thorne addresses the room while staring directly at me. We must consider whether this situation is truly a sacred mate bond, or simply a clever Omega who saw an opportunity and seized it. The whispers follow me everywhere. In corridors, during meals, when I walk through the gardens trying to find a moment of peace, always just loud enough for me to hear, never quite loud enough to confront directly. It wears on me like water against stone, slowly eroding whatever fragile confidence I've built. I try to be strong, try to hold my head high the way Alexander taught me, try to remember that I saved his life, that the bond between us is real, that I have every right to be here. But late at night, alone in chambers that still feel too large and too foreign, the doubts creep in. Tonight, they consume me entirely. I'm sitting on the floor of my room, still wearing the ridiculous gown from tonight's banquet emerald silk that cost more than Eloin's cottage, and I can't stop crying. Great, gasping sobs that shake my whole body as weeks of pressure finally crack me open. I can't do this. I'm not strong enough, not refined enough, not educated enough. I'll never be what these people expect, what Alexander needs. Every day I stay here, I'm just confirming what they all already believe, that I'm a fraud playing at being something I'm not. I don't hear the door open, don't realize Alexander is there until I feel him kneel in front of me. I expect him to ask what's wrong, to offer reassurances that we both know are empty. Instead, he does something that stops my breath entirely. The Alpha King kneels before me, not just standing close or sitting beside me. He kneels on the floor, bringing himself lower than me, his hands resting gently on my knees. "Look at me," he commands softly, and even through my tears, I can't disobey that voice. When I meet his eyes, they're raw with emotion, pain, and tenderness, and something fierce that makes my chest ache. "You think you're not enough?" His voice is steady despite the devastation in his gaze. "Olive, you stopped a war before it began. You walked through fear to save someone you didn't even know. You face a court that rejects you with more grace than nobles who've trained for it their entire lives. You are extraordinary." "I'm not," I sob. "I'm terrified all the time. Terrified of this world, of failing you, of not being what you need. Every day I wake up knowing I don't belong here, and I don't know how much longer I can pretend. Then let me be terrified with you." The words stop my spiral completely. Alexander's hands frame my face, his thumbs wiping away tears with devastating gentleness. "Do you think I'm not afraid? I've been alone for so long, Olive. So long. I built walls around myself because everyone I ever loved either left or betrayed me. I told myself I didn't need anyone, that duty was enough." His voice cracks, and I see tears gathering in his own eyes. "Then you crashed into my life and made me feel again, made me want things I thought I'd buried. And now I'm terrified every single day that I'm not the mate you deserve, that my world will destroy the light in you, that you'll wake up one morning and realize you saved the wrong person. Alexander, what if I'm not worthy of what you've given me?" He continues, and now we're both crying, both broken open and vulnerable. "What if loving you ruins you?" The word stops my heart. Loving. I'm falling in love with you. I confess, the words torn from somewhere deep inside me. And it terrifies me because I don't know how to be what everyone expects. I don't know how to be enough for you. Alexander's breath hitches. For a moment he just stares at me like I've said something earth-shattering. Then he closes the distance and kisses me. This isn't the desperate collision from the wedding or the controlled tenderness from our dancing lessons. This is something else entirely, a surrender. His lips move against mine slowly, deeply, like he's memorizing the taste of me, like he's pouring everything he can't say into this kiss. When he pulls back just enough to speak, his forehead rests against mine. "I'm already lost to you," he whispers, his voice wrecked and raw. I love you, Olive. Completely, helplessly. So much it feels like my chest is being torn open. I kiss him again, tasting salt from both our tears. My hands tangle in his hair, pulling him closer, and he responds by lifting me into his lap so we're wound around each other on the floor of my chambers. We kiss like we're healing each other, walls crumbling, defenses shattering. When we finally break apart, both gasping, I rest my forehead against his shoulder. His arms wrap around me, solid and secure, and for the first time in weeks, I feel safe. I'll stay, I whisper against his neck. I'll try. Not because of the mate bond or duty or any of it. Because I choose you, Alexander. I choose this. I choose us. He pulls back just enough to look at me, and his smile is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Unguarded, full of hope and love and something that looks like wonder. Then we'll face it together, he says, pressing a kiss to my forehead, then my nose, then my lips. The court, the doubts, all of it. Together. Together, I agree, and seal it with another kiss. That night, Alexander doesn't leave. We fall asleep, tangled together on my too-large bed, fully clothed but closer than we've ever been, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear, his hand stroking through my hair with infinite gentleness. And for the first time since I crashed his wedding, I believe we might actually survive this. Not because the bond demands it, but because we're choosing each other. Every single day. 2 months of something close to happiness, and I'd almost started to believe this could work. Alexander and I have fallen into a rhythm that feels natural, despite its impossibility. Morning walks through the palace gardens where he tells me stories about his childhood. Afternoons spent in his study while I read and he handles kingdom business, stealing glances at each other when we think the other isn't looking. Evenings, dancing in empty ballrooms or sitting by the fire while he teaches me about pack politics and I teach him about healing herbs. We haven't completed the mate bond, haven't taken that final step, but we've grown closer in ways that matter more. Trust, affection, love that deepens with every passing day. I'm starting to believe I might actually belong here. Then the council shatters everything. They call an emergency session, demanding both Alexander and I attend. The moment I walk into that stone chamber and see their faces grim, accusatory, triumphant, ice slides down my spine. Councilman Thorne steps forward with a leather folder. Your Majesty, we have uncovered evidence of a conspiracy that threatens the very foundation of this kingdom. He spreads letters across the table, dozens of them, written in elegant script on expensive parchment. My blood turns to ice as I recognize the signature on each one. My name. These letters, Thorne continues, his voice dripping with vindication, prove that Miss Olive has been in contact with the Nightshade Pack, our sworn enemies, for months. She was sent to seduce you, destabilize your rule, and deliver intelligence about our defenses. The room spins. I try to speak, to defend myself, but no words come out. Alexander's face goes completely blank. That terrible, controlled mask I haven't seen since the early days, the one that hides every emotion behind ice-cold authority. Is this true? His voice cuts like silver, precise and devastating. I finally find my voice, though it comes out as barely a whisper. No. Alexander, I would never. The evidence is irrefutable. Another council member interjects. Meetings with Nightshade operatives, details about guard rotations, defensive strategies, even the king's personal schedule, all in her handwriting. It's not my handwriting. I'm shaking now, panic and betrayal warring in my chest. I've never written these letters. I've never even met anyone from the Nightshade Pack. But doubt flickers across Alexander's face, and that small hesitation breaks something inside me. She must be banished immediately, Thorne demands, before she can do more damage. I'll investigate this personally, Alexander says, his voice devoid of emotion. No action will be taken until I've examined the evidence thoroughly. The council protests, but he silences them with a look. When he finally meets my gaze, his eyes are shuttered, distant. He doesn't believe me. The council files out, leaving us alone in that cold stone chamber. The silence stretches between us like a chasm. How could you even question this? The words explode out of me, raw with hurt. After everything we've been through, how could you look at those obvious forgeries and doubt me? I don't know what to believe. Alexander's control fractures, his voice rising to match mine. Do you understand what I risk by trusting you? What I risk by trusting anyone? then don't trust me. I'm crying now, furious and heartbroken. Send me away if you really think I'm capable of betrayal. I've been betrayed by everyone I've ever trusted. He roars, and I see the pain bleeding through his anger. My uncle tried to poison me when I was 12. My own blood. My first beta, the man I considered a brother, sold pack secrets to our enemies. Even Serafina, chosen by my own council, tried to murder me at our wedding. Everyone I've ever loved has either left or destroyed me. Why would you be different? The words hit like physical blows, but I force myself to stand straighter. Because I love you, you stubborn, traumatized wolf. My voice breaks on the words. I love you so much it feels like my chest is being ripped open every single day. I gave up everything to stay here, my home, my mentor, my safety, my entire life because of you. Alexander looks shattered, but I can't stop now. Those letters are forgeries. Any fool can see that. But you know what? Tears stream down my face. The real betrayal isn't someone forging evidence. It's that you looked at it and didn't trust what we've built. You didn't trust me. After 2 months of me proving myself every single day, you still chose your trauma over our love. The silence that follows is devastating. Then Alexander does something that breaks us both. Garrett? He calls to his beta waiting outside. Investigate Miss Olive's activities over the past 2 months. I want confirmation of her whereabouts for every meeting mentioned in those letters. I stare at him, unable to believe what I'm hearing. He's actually going to investigate me. Treat me like a criminal instead of his mate. I understand now, I say quietly, my voice hollow. Your trauma runs too deep. You can't choose me over your survival instincts. You'll never truly trust anyone again, including me. I turn to leave, but his voice stops me. Olive. No, I don't look back. If you need evidence to believe in us, then we were already broken. I pack my things through a haze of tears. The silk gowns, the jewelry he's given me, all of it goes into the bag. I'm leaving it all behind. Going back to Elowen, to my simple life, to a world where my heart wasn't constantly being shredded. I'm nearly finished when Alexander appears in my doorway. He looks wrecked hair, disheveled like he's been running his hands through it, eyes red-rimmed, face pale. Don't leave, he says, and his voice breaks on the words. Please, Olive. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't enough. I know. He takes a step into the room, hands raised like he's approaching a wounded animal. I know I failed you. I know I should have trusted you without question, but I'm so afraid. Of what? I spin to face him, anger and pain making me reckless. Of being hurt? Of being betrayed? Well, congratulations, Alexander. You've guaranteed both. By pushing away the one person who would never— Your Majesty! Garrett's voice interrupts from the hallway, urgent. You need to see this. Alexander's jaw clenches, but he doesn't take his eyes off me. Not now. Sir, it's about the investigation. It's urgent. Something in Garrett's tone makes us both turn. The beta holds another folder, but his expression is completely different from the council's earlier triumph. He looks shocked. The letters are forgeries, Garrett says without preamble. Expertly done, but forgeries nonetheless. We found the source, Serafina's cousin, Lord Damien, working from his cell in the dungeons. He's been trying to destabilize your rule from within. Relief and vindication flood through me, but Garrett isn't finished. There's more. He hands the folder to Alexander with something like awe. We found birth records, official documents from the Moonwhisper Pack archives. Sir, Olive isn't just some random Omega. Alexander opens the folder, and I watch his face transform as he reads. Shock, wonder, devastation. What? I demand. What does it say? Alexander looks up at me, and tears are streaming down his face. You're the lost daughter of the Moonwhisper bloodline, the pack that ruled these territories before they were betrayed and destroyed 23 years ago. Olive, you're royalty by blood. His voice breaks completely. You were always worthy. And I treated you like you had to prove yourself when you were a queen all along. He falls to his knees in front of me. Not a strategic move or a gesture, a complete collapse. I failed you, he says, voice breaking. You are my mate, my queen, by bond and by blood, and I failed you. I let my trauma blind me to the truth right in front of me. I'm so afraid of losing you that I almost drove you away myself. This powerful alpha, completely undone, crying openly as he kneels before me. Please, he begs. Please forgive me. I'll spend my life earning your trust back. I swear it. I sink down to face him, my own tears falling. We're both broken and healing all at once. Then earn it, I whisper, my hand cupping his face. Show me you choose me, even when it's hard, even when you're afraid. Alexander kisses me like I'm oxygen, like he's drowning, and I'm salvation. I choose you, he breathes between desperate kisses. Always. Only you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know, I whisper back, and I kiss him until we're both breathless. I know you are. It doesn't fix everything. Trust takes time to rebuild. But as we hold each other on that floor, both crying and kissing and promising, I know we'll find our way back. Together. My coronation as queen is supposed to be a new beginning, proof that a common omega can rise to royalty, that love can triumph over politics, that I finally belong in this world I've fought so hard to claim. Instead, it becomes the day the Blood Rose Pack makes their final move. The cathedral is packed with nobility from every territory. I'm wearing a gown of midnight blue and silver, the crown of the Moonwhisper line resting on my carefully braided hair. Alexander stands beside me at the altar, devastatingly handsome in his ceremonial armor, his hand warm and steady in mine as the high priest begins the coronation rites. I should be focused on the sacred words, on the weight of responsibility about to be placed on my shoulders. Instead, I can't shake the prickling sensation at the back of my neck, the feeling that something is wrong. Then the cathedral doors explode inward. Wolves flood through, dozens of them, all bearing the crimson insignia of the Blood Rose Pack. At their head is Darius, Seraphina's cousin, his face twisted with rage and vengeance. For the Blood Rose, he roars, and chaos erupts. Alexander moves before I can even process what's happening, pulling me behind him as his full alpha power unleashes. The force of it sends shockwaves through the cathedral, candles flickering, glass trembling. His wolf surfaces completely, and when he roars a challenge, the sound is so powerful it shakes the ancient stones. The battle is chaos and blood. Alexander's guards engage the attackers while nobility scrambles for safety. Steel rings against steel. Wolves shift mid-leap, their snarls echoing off cathedral walls. Alexander fights like the warrior king he is, protecting me with his body while cutting down enemies with brutal efficiency. But there are too many. I watch in horror as 5 Blood Rose wolves surround him, coordinating their attack. Alexander takes down 2, but a third catches him from behind, claws raking across his shoulder. He stumbles, and they close in for the kill. Something inside me breaks open. Power floods through me, ancient, devastating, pure omega force that legends speak of but no one believed still existed. It's not the gentle healing energy I've used before. This is raw, primal, protective fury that erupts from my core like a supernova. I don't think, don't plan, I just unleash it. The attackers near me are thrown backward by sheer energy, their bodies slamming into stone pillars with bone-cracking force. A wave of golden light pulses from me, and I feel it, the ability to heal and destroy in equal measure. Ancient omega power that once protected entire kingdoms. Alexander stares at me in absolute awe, blood streaming from his shoulder. Around us, the battle has frozen as everyone witnesses what I've become. Impossible, someone breathes. But Darius sees his advantage disappearing, sees his carefully planned attack crumbling, and does the unthinkable. He moves faster than thought, grabbing me from behind before my power can react. Cold silver presses against my throat, a dagger that burns against my skin. Call off your wolves, Darius snarls at Alexander, or she dies, right here, right now. Alexander's wolf is barely contained, golden eyes blazing with lethal fury, but his voice when he speaks is deadly calm. Let her go. Not until you surrender. The dagger presses harder, and I feel warm blood trickle down my neck. On your knees, Alpha King. Renounce your crown. No. I try to shout, but the blade constricts my throat. Alexander's gaze locks with mine, and I see the decision forming. See him about to sacrifice everything to save me. Take me instead, he says, and starts to kneel. Let her go, and I'll surrender. You can have the throne, the kingdom, everything. Just don't hurt her. Darius laughs. How touching. The great Alpha King, brought to his knees by a common Omega. That's his mistake, underestimating me. I remember every lesson Alexander taught me in secret over these past months. Every self-defense technique, every pressure point, every way to turn a captor's strength against them. Combined with the Omega power now coursing through my veins, I'm not helpless. I'm deadly. I slam my head backward into Darius's face, feeling his nose crunch. His grip loosens just enough. I spin, grabbing his wrist and twisting until the dagger clatters to the stone floor. Then I channel every ounce of Omega power into my palm and slam it into his chest. The force sends him flying across the cathedral. Alexander is on him before he hits the ground, his wolf fully unleashed. They fight, brutal, vicious, two alphas battling for dominance. But we're not just Alexander anymore. We're us. Together. I join him, my power shielding us both while he delivers the final blow that leaves Darius broken and defeated on the cathedral floor. Around us, the remaining Bloodrose wolves surrender, seeing their leader fall. It's over. In the aftermath, covered in dust and blood, our coronation interrupted, and our cathedral destroyed. Alexander pulls me into his arms. He's shaking, or maybe I'm shaking, or maybe we both are. Marry me, he demands, his voice rough and desperate. Right now. I'm not waiting another moment. I laugh through my tears, gesturing at the chaos around us. We're literally standing in a destroyed cathedral. His grin is wild and free, and so alive it takes my breath away. Then it's perfect. Marry me, Olive. Be my mate, my queen, my everything. I already am your queen, I point out, touching the crown that somehow stayed on through the battle. Then be my wife, my marked mate, mine in every way that matters. The high priest, remarkably unruffled despite everything, steps forward. I can perform the ceremony now if you wish. Our remaining guests gather those who stayed to fight beside us, who proved their loyalty in blood and battle. And in that broken, beautiful cathedral, still bearing scars from the attack, we have our true mating ceremony. When Alexander kisses me, sealing our bond before the entire kingdom, I feel the connection between us snap into perfect, unbreakable wholeness. His wolf and mine, finally united. Two souls that fit together despite every obstacle the world threw between us. Later, in his chambers under the light of the full moon, Alexander marks me. His teeth sink into the curve of my neck, and I mark him in return, our bond completing in a surge of power and pleasure and love so overwhelming I think I might shatter from it. We come together with tender passion, whispered promises, tears of joy mixing with gasps of pleasure. Every touch is reverent, every kiss tastes like forever. When I finally fall asleep in his arms, marked and mated and whole, I understand what it means to be completely, perfectly loved. 3 months later, I'm standing in our private gardens, hand resting on my barely showing belly, watching Alexander play with the pack children. He's teaching them basic defense moves, patient and gentle, and my heart swells watching him. He catches me staring and crosses to me with that predatory grace I've come to adore. His hand covers mine on my stomach, our air growing inside me, the future of two ancient bloodlines united. Do you regret it? He asks quietly, his golden eyes searching mine. Crashing my wedding? Turning my world upside down? I smile up at the Alpha King, who kneels for no one but me. Not for a single second. He kisses me soft and deep, and I taste forever in it. Home, love, everything I never knew I deserved. I love you, my impossible queen, he murmurs against my lips. I love you, my surrender alpha. And under the afternoon sun, surrounded by the life we've built from ashes and chaos, and one desperate, world-changing kiss, I finally believe I deserve this. All of it. So tell me, where are you watching from? And what was your favorite moment in Olive and Alexander's story? Was it the wedding crash, the full moon scene, or maybe the final battle where Olive unleashed her Omega power? Drop a comment below and let me know. Don't forget to subscribe for more epic dark romance stories that'll have you believing in destined mates and impossible love. Until next time, keep believing in the power of one brave choice to change everything.